What's up again? It's been a minute since I've done videos similar to this in nature, where I'm kind of postulating and conjecturing about things, expression itself, trying to wrap my mind and head around an idea through verbal communication. That way it almost cements an image within my own mind. The other day I kind of had this thought. I say the other day, and realistically it was about a year ago. One of my professors was posting something on Facebook, and I replied in kind. I said, what if the actual constraints of the universe itself give us the ability to experience consciousness in life? There's only a specific set of parameters which in place allow somebody or something to actually even have experience, ergo life. Now, that being said, that there must be a specific code in which all mannerism of things follow for something to then therefore gain consciousness within this realm. What if the personification of harmony within an interactive being inside of this universe is in the manner of the human form? What if literally the culmination of the peak of something which can manipulate and experience reality itself is in fact the form which we ourselves are in? It would very much so kind of reaffirm almost ancient philosophical notions as to man's relation to God. And I think a lot of people simply scoff way too much at these, what I would deem to be ancient philosophers, more than religious zealots. I mean, a lot of people, really naysay on the Bible thumpers and stuff like that, but there's much more in the Bible than what they actually criticize. It's almost like reading Dr. Seuss. Sure, the Lorax himself is a lie and a made-up fiction of, Seuss's mind. But the embodiment of somebody who, cares for things and the natural world and stuff like that is a reality. And the hidden messages within the story itself are truths within the lie. And so going back upon what I said previously about mankind literally being the culmination of experience and being, and something which can then therefore communicate and interact with the universe of its own creation, let's then compare this to ancient philosophical notions as to man's relation to God. Man was created in God's own image. There are other stories and lore and myths and legends about man coming from the dust and the dirt and all these other things. Well, if we look at it scientifically, we are merely just composed of all these organic particulates making up our being. And we can get into a discussion of the soul, if it takes us there, I'll go there. But looking at it in a different light, it would make sense to explain things as man came from dirt or mud or clay. We are fashioned from clay, so to speak. And looking at us being fashioned from a living entity, it's kind of ridiculous to say that something that is unconscious can contain consciousness. And I'm talking about the universe being unconscious, containing a form of intelligence and intelligent consciousness, that being us. It would be kind of ridiculous to say that, the hierarchy of consciousness ends with something within something unconscious, right? The act of consciousness is almost like reaction to stimulus. But almost in a way which is at some points in time illogical, which is what separates us from something which acts merely due to physical laws to some degree. So, in a way, who's to say that we aren't made in the image of that which made us, and that the image which we are in ourselves is not the personification of a creator, something which can manipulate reality, something which can build reality and change it, like we do today. People do that. If you look around the world, it's a constantly changing thing, which is manipulated by our own consciousness, our own ability to think and reason, and to play upon how things themselves react to our actions. And by taking advantage of how things react, we can then therefore manipulate them to our liking, which is our own conscious willingness or our own conscious willpower to manipulate our surrounding. And so therefore you have it. We ourselves are literally conscious beings which are capable of manipulating the universe. But it's kind of like this loophole system of reaction and action and reactivity, where we ourselves are influenced by that which we influence, sort of thing, right? So now getting back down to the soul, I talked earlier about how man was, this modge podge and conglomeration of particulates and matter, right? And so what is the soul? Well, I actually think myself that the soul is something much more intertwined with our physical makeup and being than a lot of people perceive it to be. A lot of people seem to give the soul something of like a ghost-like character. Well, for me, I like to perceive the soul almost as somebody's personality. But what makes somebody's personality? So far, science tells us that it's literally like the orientation and arrangement of their brain and the atoms and molecules that make all this up. So the soul is actually a physical structure, right? But I'd like to make another comparison as well before pretty much putting this concept to rest. And that is that I like to think of everybody as a specific song, right? It's kind of hard to separate yourself from the universe, and if you perceive the universe to be something which is all-knowing, you can almost parallel the universe to ancient philosophical notions of what God actually is in their description of it. Something which is all-knowing beyond us, yet we ourselves are a product of, right? Sounds pretty familiar. So science and religion kind of have this gap, but it's merely a gap of misunderstanding and interpretations of words, which really, there's a fuzzy line between all these things kind of meaning the same thing. But that being said, the eternal nature of each individual soul, if we would compare each person as to, let's say, a specific song. Now, nobody else can play your song because as soon as they do, it's the same song. So each individual person has their own identity and soul within a much larger thing which they are a part of. But at the same point in time, if anything else plays that tune, then in fact, it's no longer separate from the tune that we're speaking of. So in this way, each original person literally is, kind of an original. Everybody's an original. So, everybody's unique and everybody has their own soul and characteristics. And this eternally lives on because in the grand infinite nature of the universe, if we were to extend its existence into eternity, that literally means it's giving us every opportunity and chance to literally experience every movement of atomic molecular construction conceivable. And within that realm of construction lays your song. And the possibility of your song coming once more into being pretty much becomes 100% if we give the universe these characteristics and parameters of infinity. So that being said, we have now described the infinite and eternal nature of the soul, both as something which is spiritual and ghost-like, describing it as more so of a song of your life, which is constantly reoccurring and at the same point in time, nobody else can identify with or sing, while at the same point in time, it's within an album, and so it's something, you know, greater than itself and a part of something much greater than itself, while still having an identity of its own. Anyways, that's all that I really felt like touching up upon at this moment. So if any of you have any thoughts concerning any of these things, then I would be glad for you to leave your thoughts with me and for others to experience and enjoy as well. And you know, as more people communicate and interact, it leaves a much more open and engaging environment, allowing all of us to, in fact, gain from the environment itself. So I encourage everybody to leave me with their thoughts and to, you know, hopefully expand upon things, conjecture with what it is that I have spoken, so that, you know, not only I myself can come to a greater understanding of things, but possibly others as well. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Later.